Okay, so people love it. Clearly, lots of people. But as Renee mentioned, it's not always fun and games. Boon Sheridan can certainly attest to that. His house became a Pokémon gym in his hometown of Massachusetts. And he joins me now from Holyoke, that's west of Boston. So, you know, we're all still trying to figure out how this game works, Boon. So tell me how it is you became a gym.
Well, I think it happened because we live in a deconsecrated church, and it was a church built in the late 1800s, and it was converted to a residence in the 70s. But the database that the Pokémon Go game uses still has this location as a church, and it's very common in the game for churches to be designated as gyms. Every other church in Holyoke is designated as a gym, and I think other folks have been saying all across the country that it's more common to find a gym where there's a church location.
Now, does gym have some sort of dual meaning in Pokemon, or is it you're supposed to go work out at this place?
It is. You are training your Pokemon characters. You get them at certain levels, and once you reach a certain level, you can go to a gym and train them. So you're actually going in and battling and getting them to be better monsters and battling against others. So in the end, also one team can own the gym or rule the gym. One player and one team owns the gym. So it's kind of funny because there's a virtual location on top of my house and it's owned by somebody else. So I own the physical space I'm living in, and then there's a gym on top of it owned by somebody else.
Which is kind of cool in one way, except what is it actually meant to you to be categorized as a gym?
I completely agree. It's very cool in so many ways. And it has been very cool so far because everyone has been respectful and everyone has been really nice. What happened is I was playing the game Friday night, and before I went to bed, I looked and said, that's kind of weird. I think there's a gym on top of our house. That can't be right. And so I went to bed, and when I woke up on Saturday morning, I was looking out my kitchen window and realizing there were people hanging out in front of my house. And you know how people hang out together, but they're not with each other? So there was that just awkward social space between the individuals. And as I'm sitting there, sitting there drinking my coffee, then I realized, oh, wait a minute, they're not actually together, because then two went away and two different people walked up, and people just stayed in front of the house for the afternoon. And it was the first good Saturday, and that's where I think people were really having a chance to play it. And cars would drive up, people would hang out in their car for 5 or 10 minutes on their phones. There was more traffic in the park across the street from us as well. So it was obvious physically that something was going on. And thankfully, I'd been playing the game, so I could put two and two together really quickly.
Yeah, really, thankfully. That's, you know, that you were able to sort of tip off yourself to what was happening, because I think anybody else would go, okay, why are people around my house and how do I make them leave?
Absolutely. And because it's an old church, we have a nice wrought iron fence around the perimeter. So it meant that people weren't actually coming up onto the lawn, or no one walked up the driveway. But by the same token, they're there hanging out. And what's interesting is it's an augmented reality game. So the gym doesn't really exist, but everyone naturally stands on the street and looks in the direction of the church. So it's a little awkward because you'll see someone standing on the sidewalk looking into their phone at our house. And so it just, physically, when you see it, it's kind of odd, because I think we're used to seeing people looking into their phones as they walk around. But when someone's looking through the phone at you, it has this surrealist painting quality where you're turning your head going, I don't know what's happening, but it's just so fascinating.
You know, it's funny. I saw someone tweet it out on the weekend. I just saw a man standing by himself playing Pokemon in a park. Oh, wait, that was me. And that was my first tip-off that there was this new game out there, that everybody's into it. So you tell me, why do you love this already? It's been on the market like 4 days.
Well, it's fascinating because I think it's a game that I've played in some form or another for years. I played it when it was out 20 years ago. I like to joke about in the late 90s or early 2000s, I was probably one margarita away from a Pokemon tattoo. So it's something that I really enjoy, and it's fun because actually my wife and I can play it together. It's competitive, but it's still fun. And we've noticed that when people coming to play, there's so far in the park across the street and over here to my house, there's been more than a few folks with their kids. So it's sort of like, okay, maybe you're not old enough to go walking around the neighborhood, but I'll walk with you. So it feels like it's starting to be something where the parents and the kids are playing. I think that broad appeal is why I dig it.
Well, I really enjoyed talking to you, and good luck with the game. I hope you get to the next level, or whatever the mark of success is.
Thank you very much. Have a great afternoon.
Thanks, Boon. We've been talking with Boon Sheridan from his home just west of Boston.